The afternoon sky was heavy with rain, a thick curtain of gray stretching endlessly over the countryside. The road leading to the old Greyson house was slick and shining like glass, and Anna Greyson's. Car tires whispered over it as she slowed to a stop before the rusting iron gate. The house loomed ahead, tall, silent, and forgotten by time. Ivy crawled up its stone walls, wrapping around windows like green veins. It looked smaller than she remembered, yet somehow heavier, as though every secret ever kept inside it had settled deep into the foundations. Anna stepped out of the car, pulling her coat tighter as the cold rain fell against her face. Her boots crunched over gravel and wet leaves. The metal gate creaked when she pushed it open, letting out a groan that sounded almost like a sigh. She paused for a moment, letting her eyes travel across the house, her childhood home. The place she had once called safe now stood like a stranger waiting for her to knock. She had not been here in 10 years, not since her father disappeared. The front door resisted her hand at first, its swollen wood stuck against the frame. When it finally gave way, the scent of age, damp, and dust filled her nose. The air was still, so still that it felt like the house had been holding its breath for a decade. Inside, nothing had changed. The same grandfather clock stood near the stairs, its pendulum frozen mid-swing. The same floral wallpaper, faded and peeling, stretched across the hallway. Her mother's porcelain figurines lined the shelves, untouched, their painted, eyes gleaming faintly under the dim light, filtering through the curtains. Anna's breath came slow as she stepped inside. Her fingertips brushed the table by the entrance, leaving streaks in the dust. Every sound, the soft patter of rain on the roof, the creak of the wooden floor beneath her feet, echoed too loudly, reminding her that she was alone. She wandered toward the living room, drawn by the faint smell of old paper and cedar. The walls were filled with portraits, smiling faces framed in gold, moments frozen in time. There was her father, young and proud, standing beside her mother on their wedding day. There she was, a little girl with ribbons in her hair, caught mid-laughter in her father's arms. But then her eyes fell upon one particular photograph, large, framed in dark wood, hanging slightly crooked above the fireplace. It was a family portrait. Her parents stood together, her mother's hand on her father's shoulder, and little Anna sitting in front of them. At first glance, it was ordinary, but then she noticed it. In the background, partly hidden by a curtain, was the faint outline of a man. A stranger. Anna frowned. He was standing near the far left corner of the picture, his face barely visible in the shadow. She stepped closer, squinting. His eyes were fixed on the camera, though no one else in the photograph seemed aware of him. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up. She didn't remember anyone else being there that day. She was sure her mother had taken the picture herself. She removed the frame from the wall, turned it over, and found a small date written in her father's handwriting. June 14th, 2005. That was 1 year before he vanished. Her heart began to beat faster. She tried to laugh it off, telling herself it was probably a reflection, a trick of the light. But something inside her, something she didn't yet understand, told her it was more than that. As she placed the frame down, her eyes drifted toward the end of the hallway. There it was, the narrow wooden door that led to the attic stairs. It had always been locked. Her mother used to tell her there was nothing up there, but old junk and broken furniture. As a child, she had believed it. As a teenager, she had tried to open it once, only to find it sealed with a padlock. Now that same padlock hung loosely, rusted, its latch broken. Her curiosity flared. She reached for the handle. The door moaned open with a sound that sent a chill crawling down her spine. A dark staircase stretched upward, the air colder there, filled with the musty scent of wood and thyme. She hesitated for only a second before stepping in. The stairs groaned beneath her weight. Each step echoed softly as though the house were whispering her name. At the top, a small circular window allowed a thin beam of light to cut through the shadows. Dust floated in the air like slow-falling snow. The attic was crowded with boxes, covered furniture, and old trunks. Everything was draped in white sheets that fluttered faintly. When the wind slipped through the cracks in the roof, Anna brushed her fingers along a wooden chest, leaving lines in the dust. She began to look through the boxes. Old clothes, yellowed letters, photo albums. Then she saw a stack of cardboard boxes pushed into the far corner. Each was marked with bold, careful handwriting. "Do not open." Her pulse quickened. She pulled the first box closer, lifted the flaps, and found stacks of papers, letters, receipts, old photographs. Many were torn as if someone had tried to destroy them but stopped halfway. The second box held something different, a collection of her father's journals. She recognized the neat, deliberate handwriting immediately. He had always been a meticulous man, keeping notes on everything from his work to his dreams. One journal sat on top of the pile, bound in brown leather, worn smooth with age. A thin ribbon marked the first page. On the cover, written in her father's hand, were the words, "For Anna." Her breath caught. Hands trembling, she opened it. The first page was clean except for a single sentence, written in dark ink that had bled slightly into the paper. "If you are reading this, it means she finally told you the truth." The room seemed to tilt around her. The words pulsed in her vision. She. There was only one person he could have meant. Her mother. The next line, half faded and written hurriedly, read, "I never meant to disappear. I only wanted to protect you." Anna's heart pounded in her ears. She turned another page, but the rest of the entries were written in a code she didn't understand. Symbols, numbers, strange drawings that seemed to map something out. At the bottom of one page was a name, Evelyn. She whispered it aloud. "Evelyn." The name felt unfamiliar, yet oddly close. Suddenly, she heard a faint thud from below, the sound of a door closing somewhere in the house. She froze, her breath held. For a long moment, there was silence again, only the sound of rain drumming against the roof. She slowly placed the journal back into the box, but kept one torn page folded into her palm. On it was a faded photograph, a woman with dark hair standing beside her father. The woman wasn't her mother. The candle flickered, and Anna's reflection shimmered faintly in the window pane. The storm outside grew stronger, lightning flashing across the sky, illuminating the attic for a heartbeat. In that brief flash of light, she thought she saw movement, a shape near the far end of the attic, where the shadows were deepest. But when the thunder rolled and the light faded, it was gone. Still, her instincts screamed that she was not alone. She clutched the journal tightly and backed toward the stairs. Her pulse raced as she descended, the pages whispering softly in her hand. By the time she reached the bottom, the house felt different, heavier, darker, as if it knew she had uncovered something it wanted to keep buried. Standing in the hallway once more, Anna looked up at the portrait on the wall. The faces in it seemed changed. Her father's smile now felt forced, her mother's eyes almost watchful, and in the corner, the shadowed man seemed clearer than before. Lightning flashed again through the windows, throwing light across the hall. For a split second, she could have sworn she saw that same dark figure reflected in the glass behind her. Anna turned quickly, but there was no one there. The house groaned softly in the storm, and somewhere upstairs, something creaked like a slow exhale. She held the journal close to her chest and whispered to herself, half in fear and half in defiance, "I'm not leaving this time until I know everything." And as the rain poured harder and the thunder rolled above, the old Greyson house, silent for 10 long years, seemed to awaken,